So what are the 5 stages of R&D, research and development? I'm going to give you these 5 stages in this video, but I want you to stick with it because I'm going to tell you something that's completely different, and it is going to be a lot more helpful, and it's probably going to change you and change your organization a heck of a lot more than these 5 stages of R&D. So if you don't know me, I'm Professor Dave Masek. I teach innovation. I've been doing it for many, many years. I do research on innovation. I am very well versed in this particular area, but the one important thing that I have learned, and it's because of the side project that I'm building, the reciprocity project, that I've learned a tremendous amount from it that is completely different than what everybody else says and does. So what are these 5 stages of R&D? The first one is ideation, come up with an idea, and then you're supposed to validate. That's the next stage, validate this particular idea. So go out and test to make sure that this thing actually works. Is this a valid idea that you're supposed to have? Then you're supposed to market it. So selling, marketing, right? Sales and marketing are kind of similar things. Marketing is more about dreaming up this particular thing and making sure that other people understand what it is. And sales is making sure that that thing gets closed, right? That you're actually making sales on this particular thing. Then you develop it, you build this thing. You go through a tremendous amount of development, just building it, whatever that particular thing is. And then after that, you are supposed to iterate as you go through, right? So improve it as you go through. So there's another kind of similar approach that a lot of people take as well, and a lot of people do, is the lean startup method, and is basically doing something to the minimal as much as possible and seeing what people take and what people want. See if you could sell it, right? So it's called an MVP, a little tiny thing that's the cheapest possible, and then trying to sell this particular thing. Now, a lot of this and a lot of these particular ideas are based on a lot of people not going through these particular experiences, or they go and work from a large corporation, so they have these sort of very clean models, right? These stages of how things actually happen. My experience, particularly with the reciprocity project, is that you don't really know what you're doing, right? So I actually have a book. It's called The Bumbling Fool, Theory of Creating Something from Nothing. And you don't know what you're doing. The whole thing is very difficult and very challenging. So the assumption with those particular models is a rationality or bounded rationality. You know what is going on, or you have some limited sense of what's going on. But in reality, when you're actually doing this, you don't know. You don't know who your audience is. You don't know who your customers are. You don't know what you're supposed to build. You don't know how you're supposed to act. You don't know where to even put any of this development stuff together, unless you already are in an organization that does this, but most of us probably aren't. So what do you do, right? How are you supposed to do this? I think the key thing, this is why it's so different, and it is so unusual in terms of how I view things. We went to Alaska. Is that, first of all, you have to have something that you are personally trying to solve that's incredibly important to you. And by the way, this is all based on sort of sociology. This is a little different than the literature. A lot of that literature is based on either on the startup world or, in marketing literature. This is based on more sociology. So you have to be passionate about something, like righting a wrong, as Guy Kawasaki says. He's got a video from many years ago. You should watch it. But basically, you're righting a wrong. You're trying to figure out, what is it something that you are so passionate about that you would be willing to spend an irrational amount of time and effort on this particular thing. Remember, this is going to be a lot more harder than you ever thought it would be. And you're going to lose yourself many, many times when you do this. Now, once you have that, that's one thing, right? So you have to be able to sort of keep going with this and sort of be completely irrational compared to everybody else. Everybody's going to make fun of you. You know, you're going to be an outsider. By the way, all of this is very legit scientific research in sociology. You're going to be an outsider. You are going to feel like nobody pays attention to what you're doing. And so you have to fight these feelings that you're going through. Another thing that's really important, you're going to be ostracized, by the way. This is totally legit. There's psychology research about this. What you need to do is be okay with who you are for following that and sort of righting that wrong. That's the first thing, right? Is being able to do that. But then the second thing that's more important than I've realized, and this is where the lean startup and those methodologies sort of fall apart, is there's what's called it's a fancy word, endogenous process of trying to find the audience at the same time. Nobody knows what you're about. You don't even know who your customers are. And so people would call that customer, I guess, discovery. But really it's about, you trying to figure out what you're about, and they are sort of trying to resonate with what you're actually trying to do. And so it's very much this long process that if you're not ready for it, you're not going to understand just how difficult it actually is. And so you have to build the audience at the same time. And so if you don't have this audience, if you've never done this before, you wouldn't think that this was really important, but it's incredibly important to find the audience. And it could be an audience of one, but is finding somebody that resonates with what you're saying. And they might not have bought anything just yet, but they really, really, really resonate with what you're saying. And that's the incredibly most important part, is finding that group, right? And that's where you're just finding, instead of an audience, I like to view it as like, a group of friends. Some people call it community, but basically it is some group that understands what you're about. They understand that particular problem. They're very, very well aware of that particular problem. They completely understand everything about it. And that might take some time to find. It might take a lot of time to find. By the way, if you look at all the videos I put out 5,000 videos at this moment, just on YouTube alone, many, many more. And it's taken a long time to discover these people. If you're in the right location, the right place, it might be really easy to find these people. But at least in my experience, it's hard. It's very, very difficult to find these people. And it's not going to be the people that you initially thought it was going to be. These people kind of appear out of nowhere, and you just don't even know where those people are going to come from, right? So that's why you need that sort of irrational belief in this particular thing. So the last thing that you need to do is really think about the pain points of going through and what it means to do what you're actually doing. And then, yes, do the minimum viable product, whatever that is, but thinking about pain points where people are uncomfortable, it's not working out. But also there's something that I think is incredibly important. What you're looking for is an analogy that I love. When you skate, ice skate, you have to cut an edge, right? If you skate, you're going to do it improperly. But when you cut an edge, you push, and all of a sudden you'll start to glide. And that's what you're looking for, is that little tiny moment where it feels like you're cutting an edge, and it qualitatively feels different, where it feels emotional to some degree for everybody, right? When it becomes emotional for yourself, not only for yourself, but everybody else, that's when you know you're actually on to something, and you should continue to do that particular thing. It's going to take an enormous amount of time, enormous amount of resources, so just be prepared for this. And this whole thing is very amorphous. There's no stages, right? You're doing it at the same time. There's no kind of methodology to do this. You just kind of have to pursue relentlessly for no reason. And once you get that in your head, that it's just a pursuit of discovery, then things kind of change. You're no longer looking for, there's not going to be like a single thing that's going to change everything. It's going to be a whole bunch of work and effort over a long time that make no sense to nobody else. People are going to think that you're insane. They're just not going to get it. But you're not doing it for them. You're doing it for yourself. And you yourself are going to think that you're insane. You're going to have a lot of hard conversations. And so you have to be tremendously forgiving. This is what I teach in my class. My innovation classes really changed. It's a lot more about empathy, a lot about the social stuff, right? It's a lot about dealing with who you are. You're going to feel like a failure many times. And so you have to get back up and realize that I'm okay. I'm going to get this. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep trying. And you have to have a lot of conversations, have that support group, or maybe it's just yourself, but you find that tribe where there's people that support you and you support them. And if you relentlessly do this for a long time, I can't promise that you will sort of achieve your market objectives. Nobody can, by the way. This is a probability problem that's dependent on many different things. But I can guarantee that you're going to build something that is going to be extremely meaningful for yourself and for other people. And that's what you do. You get ready to get going, and you just pursue relentlessly for as long as you possibly can. All right, take care and have a wonderful day.